What's up, YouTube? DJ Tim's here. Shoutouts to Living Dead Girl 40K for the idea for this video. In my first Silent King video, they had posted a comment saying that they were a new Necron player, welcome to the Dynasties, and second, that they were going to be purchasing the Silent King. They were not sure how he would function on the battlefield, though, and that got me thinking that maybe there was others who might feel the same way. People who are reserved to buy the Silent King because they don't know how he's going to work, or maybe have purchased him and are not exactly sure how he's going to function. So I thought I'd bring you guys a video kind of giving the basics and the tutorial on how to run the Silent King. He is an expensive and pricey model, and I'd hate to see him thrown on the table and just get annihilated or someone not feel like he's functioning to their full potential. First of all, he is a big, expensive model. And take a second to talk about the hobby and aspect of him. If this is the first Necron model that you're building, I would recommend doing a Ghost Arc or one of those first. This is a very, very symmetrical model, down to the fact that the staircase is two separate pieces that are glued together flat. So I do recommend trying one of those first and getting used to it. When you do move to this, make sure you do a lot of dry fitting and get everything very, very clean all the way down the middle. At the end of it, it's almost going to feel like you're taking two separate models and just putting them together with how this thing is assembled. So that's with the model. Otherwise, beautiful model. Great piece to anyone's collection. On to how he functions on the table. He's expensive in money. He's expensive in points. He's 400 points. So he's a good chunk of any army. He is also a D-cell battery. And anyone who has ever dealt with children's toys knows D-cell batteries get also very expensive, especially when you have to buy a lot of them. So he is your D-cell battery. You plug him into all of your toys and he makes them work. Well, what's the thing with D-cell batteries and toys? They're always in the most inconvenient and inaccessible positions. And you need a screwdriver to get them out. And that's what I'm going to show you with the Silent King, how to put him in the most inconvenient, inaccessible position and make your opponent have to bring a screwdriver to get through your terrain to dig him out. So, what does he do? Why is he a D-cell battery? He is a big aura buff, which means that any unit that is near him within the aura's inches in range gain reroll all hits in combat, reroll wounds in combat, an additional inch to their move. He dishes out 2 units, my will be done, to give them +1 to hit. He gives you 3 additional command points just for being there. And he also can deny a psychic power on top of using a stratagem that can deny the psychic power a second time on a 4-up. Real easy. So yes, he is literally all the power of your army. You plug him in there and he makes everything better. Also talking about his stats, he has 16 wounds. What 16 wounds means is that he can take the benefit of obscuring terrain because he is under 18. So what obscuring means, and this is where it kind of gets confusing for some people with that when you're just reading it online. So an obscuring piece of terrain is any piece of terrain that is over 5 inches tall and has the obscuring terrain trait. This piece of terrain is more than 5 inches tall. This is a typical piece of terrain in the tournament circuit that I'm a part of in Death or Glory, where it's square, L shape, and the front corner facing more to the middle is covered on the bottom floor. Windows do not count. Windows are not there. The bottom floor is completely line of sight blocking, and the top floor is not, and you just gain the benefits of cover. So what that means for the Silent King, since he has 16 wounds, he can be obscured by obscuring terrain if he's obscured. I know I said obscured a lot of times there. It's almost feeling like it's not a word. With how many times I've tried to record this video, it feels like it's not a word anymore. What that means is if the Silent King is on the terrain, like so, he can be shot at because he can physically be seen from the other sides of the wall. Infantry that can go underneath it would not be able to be seen because they can't physically be seen by the other side of the wall. And most terrain will allow your infantry to do that. If he's back here, where he is not on that square base, which is the common bases we see from Games Workshop with their terrain map releasing and how they recommend terrain to be. Now he cannot be shot at because, first of all, he is behind an obscuring piece of terrain more than 5 inches tall. The terrain has the obscuring terrain trait, and since they cannot shoot through the terrain fully, he is obscured. He now gains the obscuring benefit. So that's how you protect him. This will allow you to get, if you go second, get him into turn 2, or at least get him to play on turn 1. Now, some of the things you can do to make him go further into the game. First is, where does he go from here? So in this position, he can scoot out, move forward, and shoot down this lane because we've positioned him just outside to hide. And or he can drop back and shoot down this firing lane. Either way, in either scenario, only inch out these two. This way, when your opponent dedicates their shooting, if they go to change to if the unit they're shooting with finishes their shooting phase and both of the rocks are gone, now the king is back to being obscured and you still have your battery to power your army just down these two. So that's will allow your king to get further into the game and get into turn 2. And staying back. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a 400-point model to put in the corner. And yes, it is. But he's a 400-point battery. He has this aura effect. And now we move into turn 2. And this is where your command protocols become part of the game. So if you stack your deck so that the command protocol that gives you a boost to your auras is on the second turn, now with him being back there, if you go second, your opponent will have 2 turns before you get your second turn. So you may want to not push him out there, even put the rocks out there on your first turn. You may want to wait and make him dedicate a little more or bring reserves down. That means that now if you have a 9-inch range, you can keep him back further for that other turn. You don't need to push into the middle or try to defend out as far, because now you have a much wider gap. You have a 9-inch range on all of these attempted auras. And if that's not enough of a visual, realize this. Silent King, there is the 9-inch wide. I'll put my chronomancers out here to make it even more visual. This is how much you can cover from the backfield. Now, you might need to move him in terrain where now he's not obscured and can be shot at. But hopefully by this time you have some other things that are being threatening and answers. And one big threat that you can put to the center that draws attention is score pack destroyers. If he is moving into this piece of terrain, giving up his defensive position, but putting this 9-inch bubble down, score packs can now move into the center and clear whatever's out in the center out, making them very, very threatening for your opponent to have to take care of right then and there. Maybe drawing some of the fire off of him, getting the king to push on even further, especially if you have the 2 rocks alive coming with him too. Now you have a wound sink. We've seen this with Tau and their shield drones, that having extra wounds on that character does help out. So now that gets you into turn 2 and potentially turn 3. The king is now more centralized. You're now starting to push with score pack destroyers, and any other gun units that you have can also start moving towards the middle field. If you want to use destroyers, you could veil destroyers near him or in the pocket to be able to shoot. You don't always need to veil all the way across the field. Even just getting them up a little further and being able to go, man, That spot right there looks good. There's a piece of terrain. I have cover. I'm blocking line of sight. If I just had enough move to go there, you do. Use the veil. Use the veil, get there. Get in that position. Now, another thing I want to say for newer players is if you notice I'm using these templates down here. I cannot stress how much having templates is wonderful for this game. I have tons of them. I have 3-inch, 6-inch, 9-inch. This makes a lot faster, especially when it comes down to things like this, being able to place them down and position your army where you want it to and have no question about where things are going. And at the same time, I'm also showing my opponent intent. Things can happen in the game. Someone bumps a model, a sleeve catches a model and moves it, and things go out of the way. Declare some of your intentions, not everything, but going back to putting the unit behind the wall to hide. During that time, ask your opponent, put him here. Say, I'm putting him here so that you cannot see him all the way up to this angle. You would not be able to see him and shoot him, and ask your opponent. Let them come down to eye level and tell you, yeah, you're good, or no, you need to scoot back a bit. Saves so much headaches later on and doesn't leave anyone with a feels bad moment of on either side of the table. So make sure you're declaring things with your opponents. And that's really about it for the Silent King. This will help you get him moving, get him functioning into turn 3. It allows you to put aggression into your army with things like Scorpec Destroyers, other units that have core that can really benefit from his rerolls. I want to say Lich Guard, but it's tough with their 2 wounds. If you have flayed ones, they're great for it. Warriors, anything that has core. I like Tesla, the Tesla off the Annihilation barges, being able to take 10 dice, roll. Oh, that's actually a common term that's said is fishing for 6s. The Annihilation barges do this. They have 10 shots apiece. You roll 10 dice. Any 6s to hit generate 2 additional hits. Well, the Silent King specifically says that a unit within its aura can re-roll any hit dice. Not failed, not successful, any of them. So by giving the Annihilation Barge my will be done to hit on 2s, I'll pick up everything that's not a 6 and roll it again. And it generates a lot of shots, and it's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite units to play. It's so entertaining. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you guys found some information into this that you could use in your games. And if there's any more questions or anything you want me to go into more detail, please leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, help me out, helps out the channel, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Thank you.